because that's the week that Pac was shot. Um, and it's always a little weird to sort of go through that period because you grow older, you reflect more and more about experiences that you've had. You think of people that have been in your life, people that have affected you, um, for good or for bad. And for me, the ongoing challenge. What's up? What's up, killer? Uh, what the challenge for me is, it's been 22 years since he died, and the most frustrating thing, well, for me, selfishly, I'd say the most frustrating thing is that I haven't been given the opportunity to sort of share some of my stories about Pac the way I'd like to, because he's sort of a tough subject to touch on. Uh, Not only because uh, people are sort of afraid in a way to kind of get involved in all things Tupac. It's kind of like he's taboo. Um, and for me, the biggest frustration has sort of been, I'm like, yo, I'm the dude that he worked with. I had the privilege of creating a lot of content, a lot of the music videos, the photos, the footage, the whatever, all kinds of stuff. He sort of picked me, you know what I mean? And I'm like, fuck, I wish I had an opportunity to kind of share and help facilitate the telling of the truth about who this dude was, as opposed to sort of what's been painted. And the more I think about that biopic, I'm like, they did him such a big disservice. And I think that because, he, the new generation's going to look at that film and they're going to walk away thinking Pac was such an average dude. And he was far from average. And that was the biggest travesty of the film for me, aside from the fact that Booty and Max is, yeah, sorry about that little disconnect action. Um, uh, so, um, yeah, it's challenging to kind of, I want to like fight everyone that talks some bullshit about him, saying he's alive or it's a hoax or just all kinds of, it just sucks because I think the problem is so little has been shared about who that character really was that all sorts of mushrooms have grown. When I mean by mushrooms, just people that just talk all kinds of bullshit. They come up with all sorts of uh, 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 bullshit theories of who he, and they got it all wrong. Dude was 25. He was divinely, uh, he was a genius in a lot of ways. He made some stupid decisions, but again, I think for what he was working with, he did fucking and whatever else. Anybody else buffering? Uh, and a play fucked up in connection. Anyway, the reason I want to tell these stories is because even in the last week of his life, so much was jacked, and so much happened that hasn't been shared, that I think deserves to be shared because the number one rapper at the time, at least in my mind, was laid up in a hospital and he didn't have any protection. He had death threats. There were undercover FBI informants. The police weren't cooperating. And Pac was basically vocalizing and talking about, when he was alive, about all the injustice sort of Trump has perpetuated as the stuff that Pac was talking about, you know? So anyway, the days at the hospital were scary as shit, you know? Um, I was there. Me and Tracy Robinson were the first two people from his camp. And when I say his camp, I'm talking about me, uh, Yasmin Fuller, Molly Monjos, his assistant, and pretty much his camp. They dealt with all his administrative stuff, his music stuff, and me and Tracy did the production stuff. So me and Tracy were the first two people at the hospital. And the first thing that I recognized was that Pac didn't have any security call his own. We didn't trust death row. We didn't trust right way security or all they had going on, because we didn't know who had shot him up. Everyone was suspect to us. So our first job there was to sort of secure him. And Yasmin Fuller, bless her, one of the most important women in Tupac's life, um, sort of ran lead and was the one that kind of came in there as an old Black Panther and sort of said, you know, we need to secure him. And that's what we kind of laid out. Yeah, I'm trying to move to see if I can get a little better connection here before I go to my meeting. But I guess if it's still janky, I'll try to maybe do this a little later on today when I'm somewhere better. Sorry guys, I didn't mean to sort of get you all logged in on this, and then it sucks. But let me see if this is a little better here. Anyway, so the days at the hospital were fucked up in that we didn't have security. We didn't know who to trust. Pac was in an induced coma. The first hour that we were there, the nurse walked up to us and said, you know, Suge's mom walked up and she's like, how's my baby? How's my baby? And the nurse walked up and said, ma'am, your son had been hit with a piece of shrapnel, probably glass. We're gonna stitch him up. We're gonna move him to another room, or to a private. And then she turned to us and said, unfortunately, Pac is good. He's lost us, and for the next 5 hours, he's going to go years of rotation. Immediately, we knew shit was bad for him. In my own mind, I at that point, I thought to myself, if there is or creep there, they wouldn't have Pac through this a second time, get shot up. What's up, Russia? I'm going to be in Russia at some point in the next 6 months, so I'll hit you up. I got something interesting going on, and I'll let you know. So yeah, I didn't think he would survive. Initially I didn't think he would survive. And then during that night, the nurse came out and sort of let us know that he had put in, you know, he had gone through the operations. He had missed his, you know, he's missing a finger. He had lost his lung, like I'd said. And then, so then it was a waiting game. So I sat there all that night with Tracy. Mid-morning, some of the outlaws that were arrested by the police for questioning or whatever, they came back. Yasmin, Fuller, and Molly showed up, and I think Muta and a few others. And then we basically kind of, Yasmin, when she showed up, she was like, yo, we got to secure him. And then, you know, I sort of volunteered to do the night shift from 12 to 8 in the morning. So I did that. and then it was just the Outlaws, and I was there for 7 days. From the 7th, I was there for 6 days, from the 7th to the evening of the 12th. Uh, so I yeah, so we kind of were all the security he had, you know. And it's interesting. Today is would have been the 4th day. The evening of the 4th night, Death Row's marketing guy came up to me. I forget what his name was. It was probably about 11 or 12. I was the only person in the ER waiting room. And he came up and he's like, yo, go. They called the Row. They're going to come finish him off. And I was like, what do you mean they're going to finish him off? He's like, they called the Row. They're going to come finish him off. So there was no one except the crusty old white security guard. And, you know, he was of no use. There were a couple of outlaws outside. So I called Asmin, who was at her, I don't know where she was. She was at her hotel or something. She was like, call the cops. So I called Vegas PD, and Vegas PD, I was like, yo, send the troops. They're about to come finish him off. And the lady goes off the phone for about 10 minutes, and she comes back on, and she says, sir, we're a little understaffed right now. There's a foot patrolman in the hospital. Go get him, and he'll... So something felt fishy about it. And the white guy was laughing, and I was like, what are you laughing about? He's like, man, last year there was a white rodeo star. He was a southern dude. He's like, last year's a white rodeo star broke his leg. Vegas PD gave him 4 policemen, 5 or 6 honey wagons for his family. I know something's a little fucked up here. And I remembered that there was a press conference earlier that day, and the hospital administrator was, you know, talking some bullshit. So I went back. I didn't even have a cell phone. And I news, and I said, "Yo, send a news truck down here. We're gonna do a press conference." So first news truck came out. Some blonde chick with a microphone and a camera jumped up. I was at least I get a fucking camera on this shit, and if something should go down, maybe that'll scare them off. So each one of those in Vegas, hour each. I think it was maybe 5 or 6 in the morning, and then finally that was it. I was shit out of luck, and they all kept saying if there's another. Also the audio's fucked up, huh? Is it all fucked up? Maybe I got to do this a little later when I'm somewhere better. So anyway, I guess I say all this to say that this week always fucks me up, because so much could have been different, global scale, if Pac had survived. Fuck, even me, my life would be a whole of a lot of different. I'd be sitting on millions and millions, I think, and that's just the fall off money from Tupac. But yeah, man, you know, when I look at P. Diddy or Jay-Z or Nas or everyone who has made millions and millions, I think about how much Pac could have done, not just on the money tip and business, but he would have gotten involved in politics. You know, I don't think someone like Trump would have been elected if Tupac was around, because, you know, he would have fucking gotten social media going, and he would have started an army. I even think he would have gone somewhere and bought a country, you know, or an island somewhere and started his own country. That's the kind of stuff he would have done. You know, he would have had all sorts of hedge funds in Silicon Valley and technology and all sorts of shit going right now, and he would have been the truth. But I guess the way the universe works is some people just turn into angels, and we sort of have to rely on them as angels. And I got breath in my lungs. I'm gonna keep trying to share the stories I have. And you know what? The bigger you try to do, the bigger task you have in life, I know with certainty, the bigger darkness and evil will try to pull you down. And you know, I'm a very small fragment in the Tupac story, but I'm gonna keep being vocal only because I think he deserves it, and I don't think enough truth about him has been shared. You know, and it's okay if people say they didn't see me at the hospital, or I wasn't there, or I wasn't security, or any of that shit, because I don't give a fuck. I know what I did. God will judge me, and Pac watches over me. Uh, you know, so I'll just keep. I've stuck to my story for 22 years. You know what I mean? There are a lot of people that can corroborate that I was there and what I did and what I didn't do. And for everyone else, it is, you know, I always say opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. I intend on doing my projects because I want to honor my little bro, uh, share as much truth about him as I can. Um, and I've got some exciting stuff planned that hopefully will see the light of day. And you know, I'll keep at it. I'll keep at it just because I sort of feel like if Tupac was, if Jesus didn't have the apostles, Luke and John and Matthew and all that shit, there wouldn't be a Bible, right? So religious, but Tupac has people from, yeah, that's a little suspect to me, right? So I think it's important for those people to get a, because they're the ones that can truly talk about who Tupac was, what he was, what his relevance was, what his teachings were. And so that's kind of do. As far as photos, I'm gonna, you know, I'm still never before seen photos.com, GOBIMI.com. Photos anywhere else. Value of these limited edition prints will go up exponentially. A certain will come out, and yeah. But check out, please share the website, GOBIRAHIMI.com. Get yourself some. As far as the footage is concerned and projects, the footage, God willing, inshallah, will, because that's where it belongs. Just putting footage out, but so much more can come of it. So that's the intention. But I'll follow up a little later. Keep your heads up, positive, and you know, continue. You've got ideas on how to share more of these, please let me know at info@gobi.com, GOBI at, no, info, INFO at AHIMI. My meeting's going to just on the podcast. That's what's important. Will change the world to